Okay, so it's Friday, and I'm on the grill. Got some chorizo con queso, some pork ribs, and some beef ribs going. And tonight I'd like to talk a little bit about the necessity to integrate when you go to another country. Really integrate into the culture and into the uh, the lifestyle when you go. And I'll start out by telling a story. Back in 1992, I was a student in a study abroad with the University of Wisconsin in Poland. Oh, correction, that was 1993. I went the year before, 92, on my own, and I was studying there a year Polish language. And so when I began the study abroad program with Wisconsin, I was already in Poland, and these kids came, to participate. And in that group, there were 10 people, 9 girls and 1 guy. Well, the 1 guy ended up being my roommate in the dorm, and the 9 girls all lived on the same floor. And the interesting thing is that, and this, I should mention also that this study abroad was in partnership with McGill University in Canada. Those classes counted as master's level postgrad classes for them, but for us it was undergrad classes. But anyway, so there were a bunch of guys from McGill as well, and for some reason I don't know why, but the 8 of the 9 girls chose to totally avoid contact with with the locals. So basically, they would go from the dorm to classes, maybe get something, go all together like geese to a restaurant and eat lunch or whatever, then go buy their food and cook at the dorm. And had already been there, living there for a year, so I had my friends and everything, and I integrated my roommate into that, and he had a great time. And one of the girls broke the mold and decided to go on her own. I don't know how she did it, but she ended up with a Polish boyfriend. But at the end of uh, the semester there, right? It was only a semester long. But the girls would constantly make comments, Polish people this and Polish people that, and they had no concept of what the local people were really like. I mean, they were going by the impression they got from their waiter at the restaurant or the guy who bagged their groceries at the supermarket, and they had no real contact with people. And they had a miserable time. I'm sure when they went back, they told everybody that they're, really worldly, and they had a blast in Poland, but that wasn't the truth. And it was all basically because they had, for some reason, in their mind, this prejudice against the local people, or I wouldn't say fear, because there was really no reason to have any fear, but they just decided to all cluster together and hunker down in the dorm instead of going out and meeting people. And I tell this story because it's a classic example of people going to another country and not taking advantage of what they have, the opportunities that they have. And also, you know, especially here in Paraguay, if someone's going to come here to Paraguay and move here, there are expat communities, there are, groups of foreigners that you can come here and you can be involved with. But Paraguay is especially focused on, or it's especially important here, the idea of friendship and family. The nickname of the country is El País de los Amigos, the country of friends. And it's very, very important, and people need to understand that before they come here. Now, I'm married to a Paraguayan wife, and when we were first just dating and I was here, you know, I come from the Northeast originally, northeast of the U.S., and you know, this whole concept of we need to be at so and so's birthday party. There's an asado, a barbecue at so and so's house. We should go. You know, that didn't really resonate with me at first because I'm like, well, okay, I don't feel like it, but it's almost like a social duty. I mean, you don't miss somebody's birthday. You don't miss if there's a big asado happening and something good happened to somebody and they're throwing an asado. You need to show up. It's like a social expectation. But on the flip side, these events are so important because when you're in your daily life or whatever, you run into problems at these events. People share their problems with their friends and with their um, family, and those problems a lot of the times can get solved through contacts because cousin so and so has a friend who works in this ministry, and I'll call him right now, and that friend knows a guy who can take care of your problem. And there's no money involved, anything like that. It's a favor for a favor. In the future, somebody's going to flip back a favor for that. But as a personal example, and to show how things work here, about well, let's see, about maybe 6 years ago, I had some heart issues, and at that time, I didn't have health insurance. Well, maybe it was 7 years ago, but anyway, so I needed to go. I I did have health insurance, I should say, but it wasn't comprehensive, and it didn't cover a procedure that I needed, which was this procedure where I don't know what they call it, but basically they snake a tube through your femoral artery up into your heart, and then they release a liquid, and then they can see if there's any problem with your valves or whatever. I don't know what that's called. I don't remember. But anyway, that's the procedure I needed to have done. And so we went to a hospital here, which is called San Jorge. And San Jorge is like the heart specialist hospital. And it's free. But the thing is, you cannot have, in order to get in, you cannot have IPS, which is uh, the state health insurance, basically, the Social Security type health insurance. And I had just enrolled in that. Even though I had been working at my job for over a year, I had the private insurance, but I didn't have the IPS. And I had just enrolled in it in like for less than or for about a month. And so when I went to the hospital, they said, "No, you're disqualified. You're in there." And my wife was talking with the doctor, and she said, "No." Being a lawyer and being my wife, she's like, "No, he doesn't have insurance. He doesn't have coverage yet. You need to have 6 months in the program," which is true. Your full coverage in IPS doesn't start until you have 6 months. So anyway, they're talking, and then it turns out that this doctor, my wife makes a reference to her uncle, who is a very famous doctor here. He's one of the best endocrinologists here in Paraguay. He got his degree in Chicago and worked for many years at some hospital in Chicago. Anyway, he's one of the best here. He's about to retire, but he's one of the best. And so when my wife mentioned his name, this doctor said, "Well, how do you know him?" And he's my uncle. And this guy goes, "Well, he's my uncle too." So basically, it was from a part of the family that they were related, but they didn't know it. And so the guy then literally and goes from getting ready to kick me out of the hospital to calling the, the administrative part, the secretarial part, I don't know, to book me for that following Monday, which was like, 4 days later or something for the procedure. And that was all because of connections. And, a lot of people might not realize foreigners coming here might not realize the value of having friends, making friends with Paraguayans, once you move here. And it might not be the easiest thing to do. I mean, it's going to take some effort. If you've got children, you got children in school, well, I mean, you can make friends with parents of your children's friends. I mean, if you want to, if you don't, you can, I don't know, join clubs, take classes, study taekwondo, study basket weaving, whatever. You'll meet people, you'll meet the instructor. I mean, make friends with with your barber, whatever. I mean, it's easy to do, and definitely make friends with your neighbors. That's another big one, is that you should, once you move here, and especially if you're in a rural setting, you should make an effort to get to know your neighbors and make friends with them. And that is what I did when I first bought my property here, and my wife and I started living there. We would see the people walking by every day. Just something as simple as saying hello, so that they know you. Yeah, that's the American that lives in the house there. Whatever, with his wife. His wife's a lawyer. They know everything. The information. If you think that the information superhighway, they used to call the internet, right? Back in the 90s. You think the information superhighway is good. You ain't seen nothing yet. I mean, this place, everybody knows everything. So, just something as simple as saying hello and greeting the people, whatever, giving people rides, because we'd see somebody walking, they're bringing their what do you call it, the bottle of gas that you hook up to the stove. They're bringing it back walking from the gas station. Just stopping and give them a ride, take them to their house, so they don't have to hump that that freaking garrafa is what it's called here, bottle, all the way to the house. And in my case, we had something of a drought back in 2012, maybe 2011, 2012, I don't know, many years ago. But I had just recently, before that, maybe a year before that, I had installed an artesian well, so I had plenty of water. And one of my neighbors crossed over and said, "Can I get some water?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Tell everybody you need water, bring your buckets." They all had animals. They all had cows, chickens, pigs, whatever. I said, "Bring whatever containers you got, come here, don't worry about it, help yourself." And people began to bring me eggs, people brought me fruit. I mean, I never asked for anything in return, but the people just, they're not beggars, they were just in a bad situation. And so to return the favor, they brought me stuff. But I don't want to say ever since then, but even before then, I mean, I had very good relations with my neighbors. And so even now, even though I'm living in a different city, I'm living in Luque, and my house is in Atera, if something's wrong at my house, I don't get it, my wife does. I get 2 or 3 different phone calls. "Hey, we saw some people at your house," and a lot of times it'll be because, we're having something done, so there's workers there, or my brother-in-law is going, but the neighbors will call and say, "Hey, I saw this at your house, you need to check it out." So, anyway, I'm rambling on now. I see I've been talking for 14 minutes. The bottom line of this whole video is that if you're going to come to Paraguay, or any foreign country, but especially Paraguay, and you expect to be successful being here, yeah, you can link up with people in the expat community, and yeah, maybe you can live many, many years that way. But there's a lot you're missing out on by not having any native contacts. And those native contacts can go a long way in ways that you may not even envision. So anyway, looks like these chorizo are ready to come off. The stuff in the back still got some time to go on the grill, so enjoy your weekend.